Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this unique show where we are going to interview one of India's brightest young talents of chess, Grandmaster Prithu Gupta. You know, many of us dream of becoming a GM. At least I do. I'm not yet a GM, so it's one of my biggest dreams to become one. But very few have actually been able to achieve this title. In fact, in India, there are only 66 people who have achieved the GM title. And I think one of them who has achieved it in the most unique way is Prithu Gupta. He became India's 64th GM, and he was just 14 years and around 10 months when he became a GM. And he started chess at the age of just 9 years, okay, somewhere around 9, and he was 1200 at the age of around 10. So you can understand that what we are going to discuss today is going to be so useful to all of you, because he became a GM. He not just became a GM, he achieved it in just 5 years, from a rating of 1200 to 2500. And isn't this simply phenomenal, you know? So this is our kind of thumbnail made by Pulkit, who, you know, on the left you have the young Prithu who is around 10 years old, and on the right you have the 15-year-old Prithu who's achieved so much, and it's going to be really fantastic to interact with him. Also, I wanted to show you his elo graph. So you see, it started from 1200 in 2014, you can say, somewhere around that. He was 1200, and then it went all the way up. It only kept going upwards, and somewhere around 2019 he achieved the 2500 mark, becoming India's 64th Grandmaster. So it's going to be an absolute honor to have him. So without further ado, I would like to welcome him, and first of all, a warm welcome to everyone in the chat. I'm so glad that a lot of people are here and are going to learn from Prithu. My aim with this video is not just to tell you about his journey, but also to give you pointers of what it takes to become a GM at the age of just 14. Yeah, in 5 years from starting to improve at chess, how do you become a GM? So let's go and let us invite Prithu here. Hello Prithu, how are you? Just a second.
Hello,
Can you repeat it? You know, I had muted you, so now how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be back on the show like always, and just looking forward to a great interview and hoping I could share some advice that could help you through your careers as it did with mine.
Yeah, well, we are very excited, Prithu. First of all, how old are you right now?
I'm 16 years and 5 months old at the moment.
You are just 16 and you became a GM roughly 1.5 years ago.
Yes, in July 2019 to be precise.
Yeah. So, July 2019. So around a year ago.
Exactly.
Okay. And tell me something that what I claim in this title, from 1200 to 1500 in 5 years. Is that true?
Right. To be fair, it would probably be slightly longer, like let's say around 5.5 years or so, but that's roughly the amount of time it took me to make that transition here.
5.5 years to reach from 1200 to 2500. You know, people spend their entire lives to become 2500 and GM, and you did it in just 5 years. It's going to be amazing. So what I have prepared here, Prithu, is a nice PowerPoint presentation where we are going to go through some of your pictures and you will talk about your journey. Yeah.
Seems pretty exciting.
Yeah, this is my favorite picture of you, by the way. You are this was taken.
My favorite too.
Yeah, you like it?
Exactly. It's from Geneva 2019, from the Kramnik Microsense session. I totally remember. And to be precise, from the interview we have, from the quick rapid fire interviews we had on the rest day. That just sits in my memory like absolute gold. Nothing can ever replace that 10 days of um, exceptional learning and adventure and so on. Just golden days in my memory.
Yeah, that was the day. Prithu Sarang Gupta has sent a super chat asking, how do I reach 1200 first? Prithu is going to talk about his journey from 1200 to 2500. but I think several people here are, to reach 1200, I think I can help you. Yeah, so let's focus right now on 1200 to 1500 because Prithu's time is precious. And this is what we are going to discuss today. And as we mentioned, this graph which simply kept going upwards throughout the years. So Prithu, let's begin with from where it all started. You started chess at the age of somewhere around 9. Is that true? It's pretty late, yeah, for someone to start chess
So
these
that's
days.
around 9 or 9.5, which is considered pretty late by today's standards. Yeah.
Yeah, why was that the case? I mean, usually people start at the age of 6, 7.
Okay, so well, I mean, as I've even said earlier, it wasn't like I planned playing chess my entire life. So you see, I was just like any other normal kid, trying my hand at a number of things, all that you can possibly name, like let's say Western music, cricket, soccer, tennis, and the list just keeps on going on. And for some reason of the or the other, or whether it was just sheer loss of interest after having experience after 6 months of having experienced something new, I just stumbled upon the game of chess. And
And that's how you began. Yeah, where do you live? In Gurgaon, Delhi? Where exactly? In Gurgaon.
right, that's right.
And which school did you go to?
Well, I went to modern school Vasant Vihar my entire life, although I just made a switch of schools about 6 months ago.
Okay.
So my entire so the well, so my entire chess career till now spanned during the time while I was in that school.
So we'll
So
talk
you can
about the role of modern, Vasant Vihar school. No, modern school, Vasant Vihar. We'll talk about it. But first, tell us about who got you interested in the game. Who taught you the rules?
well, I mean, initially I clearly remember I started by going to the to what you can vaguely refer to as some kind of a pseudo chess club in our school,
Okay.
which basically consisted of 1 hour sessions we'd have every day in the morning. So you see, there's this time frame called the zero period where children are just free to do whatever they like to, anything constructive, which is the time I, along with a couple of my friends, would go to the go to this room by the poolside where about 20 to 25 of us kids who'd be interested in chess would just get together and play a few games just like that. I would be more of a vague competition than anything serious, but I think that's just the most appropriate or the best way you can say to start a game, because if you really start showing all seriousness and this crazy amount of work ethic from the beginning, you'd never be able to develop an interest in, let's say, absolutely anything, let alone a particular game, especially that of chess, which requires great demand for long working hours and a lot of dedication, consistency, motivation, passion, and so on.
Actually, you made a very interesting point, and I think I want to write it down here, which is like you, in order to start out chess, you need just like an interest in the game. Yeah, you don't need to be working hard on it, or you don't need to be like fanatic about it, but there should be some interest.
Yeah. And better said, if you keep that attitude throughout, of course, no with a minute amount of dedication, little to no, I mean, on the scale of little to no at the beginning, but if you keep that attitude of, just working while knowing when to rest and, just deload and so on, you'd probably end up doing wonders. I mean, there's no need to just beat yourself up just because you didn't work for the 16 hours as planned. I mean, just because you work for 15 hours instead of the planned 16, or let's say you didn't read 30 pages of my great predecessors on a particular day when you plan to.
Okay,
I
got
mean,
it.
you
So,
just have to,
so you say you have to pace yourself well, yeah?
yeah, just know how to balance work and rest, because rest is, as I would learn along the way, is a very essential part of recovery. I mean, you just cannot go without letting your mind at peace, or let's say taking short breaks in between. That's important, as I would probably even touch upon further during the talk.
Okay, okay, fantastic. So we have two things. When you begin, you should have interest in chess, and it should be properly paced
Sure.
with good balance among your work and rest. So basically, work,
Right.
and I can even put it better as, say, leisure. Okay, got it. And this is a very nice picture. That's you, yeah, with three trophies there.
Right. If I can remember clearly, that's from the Delhi State Championship 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's Gopa sir and AK Verma sir alongside me.
Wow. So Gopa Kumar, who is a very well-known arbiter of Indian chess, one of the finest on Prithu's, is on the left of our screen, and AK Verma, a very well-known organizer of Indian chess, is on the right. And Prithu has three trophies. You won Haryana. This is state championship, but why did you get three trophies?
Okay, as far as my memory goes, they used to conduct all the championships ranging from under 7 to under 15, Blitz, Rapid, the Federated tournament, and all within a span of 2 months. And then they'd have a uniform prize distribution for all of those events,
Ah.
which would honestly, if I'm to be fair, was really interesting. And you'll have these boys often walking out with 7 trophies, 8 medals, and so on. Which, of course, I mean, really gets your adrenaline high and wants you to just, you know, uh, collect all of those titles one by one. So as far as I remember, I probably stood second in under 13 and under 15 and got some other prize for some other event as well.
So tell me, Prithu, how important do you think is to get these trophies when you are young? I right now the trophies mean very little for you, with you having
Sure.
won maybe hundreds of trophies in your chess career. But when you
Right.
were young, was it a motivating factor for you?
Okay, well, to be fair, if it were not for these little trophies and medals, whether it even be in the local 15 people academy tournaments that I played towards the very beginning of my career, I would have probably lost interest really very soon, because, as my friends and family like to say, I'm the kind of person that really depends on interest per amount given. So I was putting in work. It wasn't like I wasn't at all. I was putting in a fair amount of work. I was showing up in front of, let's say, my screen, the chess books, and so on for long hours per day. But yes, at the end of the day, if for any X reason, if I hadn't got my hands on those trophies, it would have probably really not been the same way, I guess.
Nice,
So,
nice. So we can add another point here, that it's very important, like to be motivated with some little. How do we say? It's not always trophies for everyone, but
I mean,
different things.
well, I think as you grow, it could even be small other factors that could motivate you. Like, let's say, some words of wisdom by a coach or any mentor, and just a little nice game that you would play along the way that it really boosts your spirits up. And you just, I guess the motivation's always there. You just have to look for it, and it doesn't have to be the biggest of achievements or biggest of uh, you know quest conquered that always have to lift up your spirits. I mean, of course, people have to experience this by themselves, and this is just a small piece of let's say advice I could probably pass on.
Okay, awesome. So when did you get your rating? Like in which year? So at what point?
I think I got my rating back in 2013 after playing only two federated tournaments. And well, yeah, now I clearly remember having seen the ratings list on the 1st of October or something, on the 1st of October 2013. Really excited to have gotten a rating of 1187 to be precise.
1187.
And there
Yes.
possibly been any happier person than me in that particular moment. So now there's some kind of funny anecdote associated with this, which consisted of my coach at the moment, back then Manav Saxena, walking in 2 hours later, and my mother was just telling the whole story to him, and me being the jolly 9-year-old at the peak of my spirits, and him just saying, look, okay, it's a great achievement, buddy, but not something to be all that happy about because you're going to have a tough time pumping up that rating from now on.
Yeah, but Manav didn't know, I think, that you would be 2500 within 5.5 years.
Sure, I guess. I mean, that was a bit unexpected for all of us, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move on, and let's have a look at the next picture. This is your family. Tell us about the role of your parents. Your mother Poonam, father Mohit, and what's the name of your brother?
He's Pravit.
Pravit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's start off by let's start off with my mother. She basically has accompanied me to all tournaments till date, and okay, I intended on being slightly independent post the age of 14, which is when I became an international master and probably start traveling to tournaments alone for, let's say, not only having a clearer state of mind, but also to, like, let's say, mature in a uniform way. But I was faced by some horrible health problems back then, which is why she accompanied me. She's basically accompanied me to all tournaments I've played till date. And she even kept communications with my coaches. And my parents are of that kind that it probably not obstruct me on anything I'm doing, but they do keep a very keen interest on whatever I'm pursuing. Like, for example, they'd know the names of all my friends I'm talking to, they'd know what I'm basically up to the entire time. And just like that, she'd always keep a keen interest in all the stuff that I'd be doing with my coaches, and just know the right time to bust me for not putting in the adequate amount of work and so on, which of course becomes really irritating after a while. But well, we
Hey,
just work with what
it
we have.
helps you to become a GM.
It okay, well, you can. I don't know. It's something that is probably neutral. I mean, you really need some kind of person to like put you back on track once you start drifting away, which is the case with let's say all the children. But at the same time, it can go to levels that actually could potentially put harm on your mental health and just get you to an absolute low and so on.
So okay, so what about your father Mohit? What about him?
So my father, he's basically the backbone of my chess career because, okay, before starting to speak about what he did, which of course sounds pretty evident, I'd just like to share the first dime of sponsorship that came into our bank account was after I became a GM. I mean, of course, I'd be winning some cash prizes here and there, and some organizers would be kind enough to provide me with conditions. But of course, if it wasn't for that.
I think Prithu.
to put it in words.
Sorry, we just lost you, Prithu, for a second. You said your first dime of sponsorship came after you became a GM, and then we
Yes,
lost you. Yeah.
right. So, to be fair, um, well, relating it to pretty much what's the topic of this interview, my father was the one who financed me through this entire journey from when I'd started playing chess till the time I became a GM. I mean, of course, I'd win some cash prizes here and there, and then some organizers would be kind enough to give me conditions based on my achievements and so on. But I mean, of course, you just can't take away that huge chunk of funding that I'd be getting from my father, without which I would probably not be able to get coaching or, let's say, even travel to tournaments. I mean, it's just very simple to put into words the role finance plays whenever you're pursuing something, and especially at a level like that.
Many people think that chess is a very inexpensive game. You have a chess set, you practice, and you become a good player. uh, what are the major costs involved, like for you? What were they, and what was the major spending in?
Okay, so now to begin with, right from when you're 13 or 1400, you start traveling to, let's say, just other states or nearby cities for tournaments. And while that expenditure might not be that much, you of course have to get hold of a decent coach and let's say even someone you can consistently work with, a mentor or so on. Because what I've come to learn over the years is that a coach is absolutely necessary in the beginning stages of your career. I mean, of course, after a while, if you feel like having one, you're most welcome to. And if you don't, I think you can function pretty well with some training partners or I mean, having a coach is of course always pretty useful. And then when you progress slightly further, you'd of course want to play tournaments abroad to get a better competition and a better arena to make those much elusive norms in, maybe to pump up your rating and so on, which of course requires loads of finances. And then we're not talking about the standard 1 or 2 15-day vacations that a normal person takes abroad per year. I mean, here we're talking about at a minimum 6 to 7 trips that you'd be making to, let's say, Europe or the Americas and so on, which is basically something that takes a financial toll on anyone under the face of the sun.
True, absolutely. So based on these points, also before we move on, your brother, your little brother, how what's the age difference?
Well, he's almost half my age. He's 7 years younger to me.
7 years. My brother, I have an elder brother, but he was very cool, and he was not very interested in chess, and but we would discuss. And is it the same like that with you? Like your brother not so interested in chess, or he's taking some keen interest in the game?
I think he's
He just crashed. I don't know.
um,
Maybe some overheating or something.
right. So are we back?
One second.
Stream?
I'm just checking. Maybe people can let us know.
Sure.
Yeah. We are back. Sorry, guys. Something unbelievable happened today. For the first time, my OBS crashed. Couldn't take the awesomeness of Prithu, maybe. So yeah, we're talking about your little brother.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, as I was telling you, he's probably not into something that requires a lot of dedication, and I'm glad he's keeping it that way because that's how it should really be. Because, I mean, as compared to me, I was someone who would always, be like really quiet, introverted, and serious and stuff. And to put it to you in the best appropriate manner, I had for real nerd like personality since the beginning. I mean, I would keep to myself and quietly just pen down notes in the class or work on chess when I'd be back home and so on. So I never, which of course even started to backfire hugely in the long run. And as compared to me, he's someone who always likes to keep a positive outlook on life and just knows how to cheer people himself up. And all in all, he is a lot more independent than I am.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, Prithu, from these points, I would like to add a couple of things. In order to become a GM, would you say parent support is important?
It definitely is. I mean, if you don't have the support of family, if you don't have the support of coaches and so on, you basically can't do anything. So, as compared to someone who's always calling himself, like let's say, self-made or just dedicating all his efforts to himself, not thanking anyone else, you basically can't get anywhere if you don't have people to support you. So, this whole notion of apparently someone who's achieved everything by himself is basically crap. Just if I were to put it mildly.
Okay, fantastic. And
I
also,
mean, there are points when your biggest supporters, they can also like let's say demoralize you or be harsh on you, but that's when you have to learn how to be there for yourself at the right time, and where the role of being mentally healthy also comes into play, because you have to be strong no matter what. I mean, if you're afraid of, like, let's say, people, you know, like, I mean, people probably taking out a frustration on you. You're afraid of sleepless nights, or let's say a couple of anxiety attacks here and there, or even to mildly add it, losing out on a lot of friends and not being the perfect man it's in front of the relatives. It's basically just not for you. You have to learn how to deal with all those issues, which, I mean, to be fair, I haven't been the most successful with, but yeah, I mean, I wish I would have started to pay a lot more attention to that than I did.
so you are saying you have to sacrifice a lot of things, yeah?
Yes, I mean, if I were to again, like, put it simply, there's a long road and a short road. While both of them don't guarantee any results, because you really can't take the future into your own hands. I mean, unless until you're a magician, which apparently you're not. So, if you're looking to accomplish your goals in the short run, you just can't have everything along with it. And if you're wanting to take the standard long road, you can of course include. I mean, there's no harm in apparently no harm in both of them. You can just figure out whatever you want for yourselves. But if you want even the slightest chance at achieving something, you probably wouldn't have to just like totally give up on things. But yes, I mean, you'd have to make a lot of sacrifices along the way.
Okay, brilliant. Prithu, we also have some questions sent in super chat, like Eternal Sunshine
Sure.
asks you, congratulations, where do you want to see yourself in upcoming 5 years? All the best to your future accomplishments.
Okay, so my sincere thanks to the gentleman who wrote these kind words, and
Well, it was Eternal Sunshine, so could be a gentleman, could be a gentlewoman, we don't know.
okay, yeah,
Okay, no, that is just a joke. Yeah, so yeah, he wishes you really well. And what's your plan next 5 years?
well, to be honest, I mean, as we can all see for ourselves, the coronavirus, it's basically put the world to a standstill. And India, being one of the worst hit countries, third to be precise, is really in a state of pseudo crisis. I mean, air travel's been banned till the 31st of August, I think, and I think it's going to be like that for a while, and it's not going to be simple in the months or even years to come either. So I think I'll just probably see how things go from this point onwards, because of course there isn't much I could probably do myself. And in the meanwhile, I'm just looking forward to exploring some other interests that I had over the years that were probably overshadowed by the amount of time I was dedicating to the game in particular.
What interest do you have apart from chess?
Well, I mean, I just have a number of them, would probably be, and some of them I'd even probably not like to mention on the stream itself.
Really?
So,
Like what? I
like,
mean, I would not, you don't want to mention, but some what you can mention, you could tell us. I know that you love Spanish, you love learning new
right.
languages, I think.
I mean, I just love learning in general, I mean, and learning for me doesn't always have to be with, you know, I mean, it doesn't always have to be the standard way by, let's say, keeping a book in my hand, just racking my brains all day through the haunting pages and so on. So what I could really term it as would be just maybe at times randomly scrolling over web pages on my phone at 3 in the night, reading about the coronavirus, reading about the tense political situations, or let's just say piece of cosmology that had come up on my feed while scrolling through Instagram. It's just as random as it gets. But at the end of the day, whether people accept it or not, I think I'm pretty content and satisfied with the amount of knowledge I've gained at the end of the day, whether it even be in the minutest quantity to, let's say, the eye of the people around me. I mean, it's just something for me, and it's purely out of interest, and not even like someone's forcing me to do anything in particular, and so on. So
Okay.
I guess that gets interesting and something I could possibly only do at a time like this.
Fantastic, fantastic. You can see, you can understand from the way Prithu is talking, very deep personality. Yeah, like he is interested in so many things and he's thought about things through, he's just 16 years old. But I would say in some of the things he's thought deep, even deeper than what most people in their 20s have. Akash Kumar has asked a question: how to control our nerve adrenaline during contest or during the games?
Well, man, if anyone had a perfect answer to that question, I think there would probably be no Carlson, there would be no player rated 1000, no 1100, or all of us would probably be skyrocketing rating barriers way past 10,000. Because mental health, or let's say neuroscience, nerve control, all of these things are just so important, and I see them being neglected at a daily basis. Also, being one of the people who neglected them along the way. So, if I would just to tell you a brief story, it would be this. So, I started working with Avatik Grigorian, Grandmaster Avatik Grigorian of Armenia, a year and a half ago. And while our working relations only spanned over, let's say, a couple of months and a couple of sessions, I probably have the most respect for him as any ex-person on planet Earth, whether it be my other coaches, mentors, parents, and so on. And one of the things he was, you can say, staunch adamant on was including half an hour of mentoring, or let's say just trying to give some kind of positive relaxation to your brain at the end of each gruesome session. So we'd basically be having 3 hours of intense work on chess, and after which he always proposed to have at least 30 minutes to 1 hour of a brief session on mental health, where he would just want to counsel me or give me some wise words of advice. And by counseling, I don't even only mean the various stress or anxiety I go through while preparing chess openings or sitting in front of a screen for, let's say, 15 plus hours a day. It would even be about my normal life, or let's say the brief arguments I would have with my parents, or at times just how to approach a girl, to be honest. So that had just put my mind at such rest and peace. But at the same time, well, he's a busy man in today's day. Everyone has to make money. They have people to feed, and such is the case with him. Such is the case with my parents who are financing me, and so on. So just like any other person, they'd be very reluctant for me to get that extra 1 hour of something not related to chess. And I mean, not criticizing them in any way for that, which is why we were forced to even drop it after a while.
Right, right.
And yeah, that's something that really made me suffer in the long run. And few months down the line, you would know I would probably be well, I mean, just not go. I won't probably go on whinging and complaining in this session, but let's say, I would literally be taking help from him for the very same thing, that we'd be reluctant, like let's say me as a trainee or my parents as finances, to invest our time and money in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Prithu,
I just
everyone
came.
in the chat is saying that he's so articulate. He speaks so well. Has he considered the idea of streaming? Would you think of streaming?
Well, that's actually something that popped up quite a few times, to be honest. And I started thinking about this following the extreme surge in popularity of Twitch streaming, like let's say around 2017 and 2018, especially for us chess players, when all these streams by some of my favorite chess streamers, like let's say Anna Rudolph or Hikaru Nakamura, started to get huge amount of viewers and so on. But back then I was really very tied up with shuffling between various time zones, cities, countries, and so on for my tournaments, training sessions, and just as I'd be back home, I'd probably be getting my brains into the books the very next day I'd have exams coming up in, let's say, 10 to 15 days and so on. So while I didn't get time back then, it was something that really crossed my mind multiple number of times around March and so on, in particular because of the lockdown and the immense amount of free time we had. But it just seemed a bit too complicated at first, I'm not gonna lie. And then I just felt the need to take a slight break off chess, and just explore some other interests and get some free time, some relaxation into.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, Prithu, Funny Verma has sent a couple of super chats. He asked about the Gelfand Kramnik training camp, which we are going to talk about. So, Funny
Sure.
Verma, we are going to speak about that. Also, he has now, I think, coming to this, the main part, of how did you work from 1200 moving up? It's a long journey, although it's been 5 years, which doesn't seem long. You went from 1200 to 14 to 16, 18, 2000, 2200, 2400. If you had to break down that journey, first of all, from 1200 onwards, how did you improve at chess? Which books did you use? Which
So,
DVDs did you watch? What was the material you used? How did it go?
right. So, okay, before I start giving a slightly boring lecture on how to improve and so on, which I'm pretty sure no one would, I mean, people would not appreciate at all.
Why?
I mean,
Why?
I'm
Why do you say
it's
so?
slightly, yeah, because I mean, me giving advice, it's not going to be like the regular do this, son, or else, you can't do this, and you have to read 300 pages of my grade predecessors a day. You have to break down your schedule into 2 hours openings, 2 hours middle games, and 2 hours end games. That's honestly the biggest nonsense I've never believed in. For example, let's say last year when I was working towards becoming a GM, I was suffering a lot from anxiety and mental stress and so on. So one of the things the doctors advised me was to go to bed early, wake up early, while trying to accommodate the goal of becoming a GM, which is as gruesome as it gets. So at times I would just be working till late in the night. Like let's say I would be working on a heavy opening line, crossing 1 a.m. on the clock. And next thing I have on my mind is that I have to wake up 9 a.m. as my parents and the doctor would want me to. But But you see the workflow. I mean, once you get that, and once you've crazily dedicated yourself to working on something without any food breaks, without any water breaks, without any breaks for recreation, the flow, it just becomes contagious. I'm not gonna lie, and you feel like you could keep on doing that forever without fail. So it's not like I would always stick to that routine. It's not that I'm any kind of a rebel. I would just keep on going on and on and on, because at the end of the day, I know I have to get my work in, and I have to get it in a way that suits me. So I don't believe in all these people that say waking up early gives you a big advantage over others because you're going to get 2 hours extra per day, 720 hours per year, and so on. I mean, if I were just to explain it mildly, you would be getting an advantage of, let's say, plus two, as we say in a chess game. You see, you're tired, you're not dedicated, you have no bit of motivation left inside you because you left something interesting you were working on the previous night just to stick to your schedule. That plus two is going to go into minus 10 and checkmate eventually very soon.
Nice, nicely put.
Yeah. So to start with, I've never been into a lot of books and you know reading and so on, which even had a big impact on how I'd work on chess eventually. So I never relied on a lot of books towards the beginning because, as I said, I was just a bit too reluctant to go through long pages of theory and so on. So while I would it wasn't like I would totally neglect books. I mean, of course, there were some pretty useful books I'd read towards the beginning and solve puzzles from, like Arthur Yusup's Build Up Your Chess Triology, which I think is absolutely essential for every beginner.
Okay.
And okay, I mean, of course, I would have my coaches checking in from time to time. I would work on my own. I would spend time playing some games over the board. And one thing that I absolutely loved was working on openings. I mean, again, if I were to explain it to all the viewers who were so kind to take out the time and watch, it'd be if it weren't for the machines, if it weren't for the heavy engines, and if it wasn't for the maths like algorithms the openings present behind in front of you, I would have again lost interest pretty soon because that is something that just tied me to the game fully. So let's say, like every normal person, I would be given a particular schedule to work on the game. Like let's say I would be having 4 to 6 hours a day. I would be asked to break it down into 2 hours for openings, 2 hours for middle games, and 2 hours for end games. I won't even realize when I'd be exceeding that way past those middle games and end game times into, let's say, the time I should have been dedicating towards outdoor sport, or let's say chilling out with friends. As I already said, that workflow, it just gets contagious as you keep on going and keep on going. I mean, you just feel like never quitting, and I think that's the way it should be. Like, God forbid if someone had again like prevented me from doing that, I'd have lost interest pretty soon. And at the end of the day, it's a game after all. So it's not like you working on openings won't be of any help when, as compared to you fully working on middle games and end games and so on. You see, you just have to do the work. Just do it. Don't think too much, and don't be harsh on yourself if you didn't stick to a particular schedule or and so on. So now moving on. One thing that I really liked was getting a lot of opening books in particular. I'm not talking about the middle game and end game books, and of course laying my hands on all DVDs possible. I mean, I still remember towards the beginning of my career, I was given a small laptop by my parents, which would have a 500 MB space or something, and I can literally bet 200 MB of that was easily filled was easily filled with all these Daniel King Power Play DVDs, Simon Williams and Rustam Kazimdanov's opening DVDs and so on, along with a number of opening book PDFs that I'd have. So I'd even include an interesting anecdote over here. So once, when I was 16 or 1700, I used to have this coach who would often complain to my mother about the long hours I'd been dedicating towards studying openings and neglecting middle and end games in the process.
Hmm.
And a lot of the times, I mean, I'll just be honest, he'd even say, your son's not going to improve. He has no career. I mean, if he's hooked onto machines and so on. Well, I mean, I just stuck to the way I liked, and I just made progress in that way. Not that I mean to criticize my coach. And well, the results were just speaking for themselves, I guess. Eventually, I did realize that was a bit wrong, and I should have listened to him. But you see, you just got to be open minded. You can't really listen to a particular person and fully surrender yourself to him. You're never going to make any progress that way, I'm sorry to say. Because at the end of the day, that's a way that probably worked for someone, which is why it's so widely spread. I mean, it's not something that's fully been proved by any scientists and so on. And even if it is, it's just because it worked for a particular person. And it's very important to understand you that there's a portion, there's a chance of 1 trillion to 1 that you'd be anything like him. So you just have to find out your own system and not
From
rely on
actually
anyone
from
else's mind.
listening to you, it seems like the only rule that you have in life is that there are no rules.
I mean, absolutely. You just have to get that work in. Just do it. Just forget about what others are saying. I mean, as long as you enjoy doing something and it brings on a lot of interest, it develops a certain amount of work ethic in you. Just keep on going. I mean, there should be no one to stop you.
Right, but Prithu, there are always doubts which come in the mind. Am I going on the right track? Am I doing it right?
Right.
There are people telling me, oh, don't do so much openings, yet I'm doing it. How do you fight these doubts?
Okay, well, for me, there were no doubts because middle games and end games were literally the most boring thing I'd ever known, which is, of course, a bit of the extremist and rebellious side to me. And
Okay.
openings were just absolute utopia. So, well, eventually, how I got interest into middle games and end games pretty late was along with Rokne Mandupadhyay and Abhishek Grigorian. So, they were the kind of people who'd, of course, spend a lot of time in the coaching hours we'd have starting middle and end games. In fact, Rokne sir would only help me improve in them. But they weren't like, just cut off your focus on openings. No need to study openings at all. And you're just improving your game day by day. Started spending a lot of time hooked up with machines, and they were just like, buddy, it's not all that good spending all those hours with machines. But I think their ideology was very simple. You're young, you're pretty young, so you just have to be young and dumb and experience it yourself. And once you experience it yourself, you probably come up with better ways. I mean, there'd be chances you won't even encounter failure along the way because as I already said, the standardized methods that were proven to be useful were just those that probably worked for a particular person, and they might just not work for you because you're a million times different than that model. The various knowledge spreaders that spread
Hmm.
and so on.
Okay, before we move ahead, people are asking any favorite books. You have mentioned Arthur, you suppose series of 10 books, but any other favorite books or DVDs which
Yes.
you can recommend?
Now, right book. So thankfully, when I just started developing an awesome amount of interest in middle and end games, as I said, the first book I encountered was Gelfand versus My Positional Decision Making,
Oh,
and
yes.
I think, as they say, that was just enough to make me, to a large extent, fall out of love with spending long hours on the machines, and just get me into into that old conventional mode, and spend long hours flipping the pages of the books and just playing through the moves on the board. And if I were to give you another fair idea of how much I fell in love with the book, was that I would often carry it in the handbag along with myself on the flights, and would just randomly skim through the pages, like let's say while waiting for connecting flights on airports, or whenever I'd be awake on the plane, or let's just say 10 minutes before the game, sitting on the couch of my room.
Brilliant, brilliant. So this is one of the books that you like. Uh, Prithu, coming to another very important subject in your chess career was actually, I mean, that you traveled a lot. You traveled to different countries to play. How did you manage your education, studies, and chess? Because I know that you were a brilliant student as well. I think you scored very well in
Yeah.
your exams.
Okay, I was doing exceptionally academically till, let's say, a while ago, till grade 8 and 9. And, the way I proceed would be very simple. And this is something I would definitely warn a lot of people against, because what I did was probably for fetch me results back, and eventually backfire in a probably in a much more enormous manner, the times to come. So, I mean, I just spend a lot of time shuffling between cities and countries for training sessions and tournaments, and then just as I'd come without any proper recovery from jet lags and stuff, I would just start delving into my books the very next day, like I said, and always hunting behind those, hunting 90-95% and so on, which actually is not the best thing to do, especially when you're neglecting everything like sleep. So uh, the shortest bit of social life, to say it all, and you're just sipping gallons of caffeine or coffee, in order to stay awake all those hours and skim through your books in order to get good marks. It really isn't healthy. And of course, it worked for me back then, but I suffered. This really where you're everyone has one, except for Almighty himself. You're a person, you're gonna break down at some point. And it's absolutely fine if you can't get a 95%. Be happy enough to settle in 60. Be happy enough to settle in 50, or let's say, not gaining those 100 rating points as you desired, but be happy with settling on 70 or 80, because your mental, I mean, to put it mildly, if you were to encounter some kind of physical obstacle around the way, let's say getting and being better for a month or so, that'll probably be the last of your priorities. And just because you're undergoing a lot of mental stress, a lot of anxiety, which apparently is taking heavy, the worst kind of toll on your body, but apparently is invisible, doesn't mean you can go on literally harassing your body in the same manner and pushing your own self beyond the most outstretched of limits.
Yeah, well, Prithu, the way you speak, I should be talking like this. I'm 30. I should be talking about this, but I think you've clearly seen a lot in life, and you are, as the chat is also mentioning, is this guy for real? They're say most sorted and mature individual that they have seen. So calm, and it's such a pleasure listening to you. So you say that although you did balance your school and chess pretty well, it took a toll on you, and I think it's better to kind of give priority to the thing you like and
I
let
mean,
the other
it's
thing.
honestly pretty apparent. I mean, I could just go on mentioning a lot of things, but I don't just want the evening of the viewers who've been so kind to take time out of their schedules and join us to probably get some piece of advice that they could use for themselves. I mean, I just don't want to make it dull, but at the same time, I just don't want to give some kind of a vague illusion in the name of advice that probably they'd be hugely suffering following. So, I mean, my role over here is basically to provide sustainable advice which people can figure out for themselves, along with giving apt precautions that are absolutely essential to take, without which well, you can get into trouble. I'll just leave it at that.
Brilliant, brilliant. You know, Prithu, it's raining outside like anything. It's torrential rain here in Mumbai. So sometimes the viewers are getting a lot of sound of the rain coming. So I'll mute my mic when you speak. That's more important
Sure.
that they can listen to you. Okay, moving on. So you know, you did become, you played around and you did become an IM at the age of 13. Am I right? Or 14? What was it?
Uh, yes, I think it was 30. I became an IM a month before I turned 14. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that you played very few tournaments, but wherever you played you were performing really well. It was like, you know, if I say a youngster like Gukesh would play 200 rated games in a year, you were like playing 60 or 70 rated games in a year. Yeah,
Even less
yeah,
at
something like
times.
55 or 60. I mean, how were you managing to keep up that level of play always?
Well, so again, I mean, if I'm to be very clear or honest, there were some reasons I was doing that. One of them being the desire for me to manage my education, or let's just say to be very safe proceeding career-wise, and not let go of any one thing in particular, which would end up taking half my time. And then the second thing being, as I said, I never had any sponsorships before I became a GM. I mean, of course, my father was always sound enough to sponsor me to for every training session I wanted to go for, any place I'd like to travel to for a tournament. But I mean, well, of course, I mean, as long as you don't have a sponsorship, it still takes a huge toll financially. And apart from that, one good reason why I didn't play all that many tournaments was I'd spend a lot of time in training sessions, or let's say working by myself. Apart from the little to slightly major amount of time, my health problems that were caused by all of these stresses and anxiety combining would often pose. Sure. Yes. Um,
Oh, sorry. I'm very sorry. I had to unmute myself, guys. I was saying that this is one of the tournaments where Prithu made his first GM nom, and this is where two Indian youngsters are playing against each other, and the legendary Peter Swidler is watching over the board. Very nice feeling, yeah.
right. I mean, that was one of my best tournaments, to be fair.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I think it was Beal 2018 to be precise, yeah. And this pick happens to be from round three when I was playing against Weber Suri, where Swidler was watching this from behind. And I was in deep trouble as far as I remember. So rather than not paying a lot of attention to Swidler, that had probably been catastrophic. I was just trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess.
Well, and moving on, so you know there are many people in the comment section. There is I am Sarvanan, who's asked a question to you that what are the things you enjoy most in chess? I know you love openings. Anything else apart from that?
Well, as I said, I mean, I just love every single bit of the game. You know, at times when I'd be awake at nights and my brain would be functioning overtime as it usually does, it just becomes really interesting when I get to the base of what the game really is. You know, it's just us moving a few wooden sculptures around an 8 by 8 64 squared board. And it's just, like so interesting. The very movement of those pieces that lead to various results, and swing of emotions, and the amount of happiness surge that you get inside of you when you're winning, or let's say just being absolutely delighted on an elite player congratulating you, or getting some good words of appreciation from your coaches, or just the joy that comes, absolute joy that comes from winning a good game itself.
Cool, cool. So moving on, Prithu, we see these are the three trainers who actually played a major role in your chess. On the left, we have Roktim Bandyopadhyay, who is an IM from Kolkata. In the middle, we have Adam Tukayev, GM from Ukraine, and on the right, we have Avetik Grigorian from Armenia. Tell us a bit about them.
Yeah. So, before I start talking about them, I'd also mention I had a number of coaches along the way, and I'm immensely thankful to each one of them because every one of them had something huge to contribute to my career. But these coaches, I mean, they literally stick in my memory forever and ever. I mean, even if I leave chess and probably something, take upon something else's career. So now, without further ado, if I were to break the roles down of these three coaches into a few points for you all. So I started working with Rocktim sir and Adam around the same time, which was back in February 2017 when I was a budding 2200 rated player, I guess. S- um, Pursuing some IM norms, or let's say increasing my rating to 24, 2500 and beyond. So, to be very honest with all the viewers, just say, I'd be working with Adam on openings, and Rocktham sir would take care of the middle and end games. And I think it was a combination that probably worked fantastically and did me wonders. So I would go to Rocktham sir's house every 2 to 3 months for a good 4 to 5 day session in Kolkata. And with Adam, so we'd mostly be working online, and he'd of course come to stay over our house for a week or so just before every time he'd come to play these Indian tournaments in summer or winter.
And what
And
about
then fine,
Avetik?
yeah. So I mean, again, Avedic Gregorian's my all-time favorite person, as I just said. I mean, he's more to me than just a mere chess coach, than just someone who'd help me accomplish my goal of becoming a GM, or let's say just bringing a lot of mental peace along the way. He's been like a mentor, he's been like a parent, he's been like a big brother, and just below all a coach. So you can see in those maybe a couple of 100 hours of interaction I had with him, he had a huge positive impact on my mind. I, in fact, still talk to him a couple of times, although communication is not as much as before. So I started working with him in March 2019, which was when I already had two GM norms and probably was lacking 28 rating points and a norm short of becoming a GM. So, yeah, I mean, he's the one who instilled a lot of positivity above all in me. So of course, I mean, we work on openings, middle games, end games, and working with him was just so much fun. It wasn't the regular online 3 hour session that you would have with any coach, as in where you'd probably just end up disappointed, having a bad day at your session, or the coach would be slightly angry or grumpy with you having performed badly. So, I mean, just to give you an example, whenever I'd be in, let's say, in some kind of a low mood or my spirits weren't that high, we just switch on loud music out of nowhere with me going crazy and having solved all those positions in barely seconds. And then at times, whenever be let's say like solving the study or a middle game position, it isn't like it was just me trying to like put all my brains thoughts and everything just onto that position and being dead focused. And at times I would probably be lower on energy from working from having worked for a long time the previous night, or I mean I would just be really no feeling like working on chess all that much. So what I mean, as I said, what we do was probably just like playing some music alongside him, instilling a lot of positivity, and I'd just be glad to go. Well, if I were to give you a good example, just 2 months after I started to work with him, I was in a horrible situation, having lost a couple of rating points in Grenke and Reykjavik and so on. I think I shed quite a few of them in the Grenke Classic in Germany in April 2019. After which I totally wanted to quit the game because, as hilarious as it might sound now, I think it just kind of takes a toll on you when you've mostly known about all the sacrifices you've made along the years, along with the various obstacles you're facing while being on a road to accomplishing your goal, or whether it just be because of the huge toll it takes on your mental and physical health alongside. And he wasn't the one that just forced me alongside to get into the game. He just said, "Look, buddy, I mean, I'm gonna give you your time, and we're only gonna work if it's you where it comes from. I mean, you have to say whether you want to continue it or whether not. I mean, both are absolutely fine with you. I mean, I'd be glad just remaining friends with you, or just speaking to you as your mentor or big brother, as he'd like to say." And the next thing he'd know was me ringing him up in a couple of days to say, "Some all good to go." So one thing he constantly reminded me of was, look, I mean, you just don't have to be harsh with yourself along the way. I mean, if you want to quit right now, pursue it later, it's absolutely your choice. If you just want to quit it in totality, never even look at the chessboard again, it's again your choice. But just remember one thing, I mean, you'd be kind of slightly regretful all your life if you leave it at this point, having just 28 points and a norm short of accomplishing the title. And I was, of course, going through a huge mental and physical turmoil as well, as I mentioned at that point. And if I hadn't had him as a coach, I would probably never have, like, let's say, even wanted to step on the flight towards a tournament or just play the first move on the board.
When did
So
you make
he's
your third GM norm then finally?
I made it in Porticio 2019 in the month of June.
Right. Okay. So would you say coaches are an important part of any person who wants to be a GM? How would you put it?
Yeah, so continuing talking about Avatic Gregorian. So within a month of let's say someone who just want to give up, like give up on everything that mattered to him in life, and let's say just quit the game in totality, and you know um, like not accomplish his goals, having worked so hard for it over the years and just leaving it because of a number of other factors. I went from someone who was actually enjoying playing the game, like really enjoying doing it. I mean, I would be staying just 2 stories above the tournament hall in Porticio, going, having prepared only for half an hour or 1 hour at max, and then just going, having fun, just enjoying moving the wooden sculptures around the board, as I just said. But one thing he totally denied me from doing was looking at other people's games, which actually helps because you really lose that frame of mind while you're looking at others. And moreover, I mean, you just start to lose focus on yourself. So what I do instead was, just play my move, try not to focus on others' games, and if I'd feel like the tense atmosphere was getting on me, I just go for a walk outside, just stroll, look at the pairings, and just go to drink water and maybe look at the very expressions of the players while playing the game, but not what's going on in their game. So the combination of him instilling that kind of positivity along with me making some brief kind of sense out of it really did wonders for me. Right.
This is going to be useful for me, the notes which I took down, because if not for the viewers, I'm going to learn something out of it. Moving on, Prithu, we go to this image where you got an award from the President of India, and I think I have a video as well of this. If you don't mind, I can play it
Of course.
here. Let's see if it.
Master Prithu Gupta, Haryana.
Where was this exactly?
So I got the award from our president, Mr. Ram Nath Kovind, at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And that was part of the 5 day long National Child Award program where we meet to meet a number of dignitaries, get awarded by the president and the prime minister, and so on.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. You're getting the award. So many people clapping. Must have been
Right.
a very nice moment. Yes.
Sure, but I mean, as exciting as it would sound to any person next to, and even does to me, what where again my mind kind of played against me, or let's say just not let me live in that very particular moment and cherish it, was because I think we just have this weird mentality of not celebrating it real hard when we accomplish something, whereas whinging all the time while on a road to failure, which is of course something that's very predominant with someone like me.
So, would you
So
say
as special as
that
it got,
celebrating your success is important?
yes, and this was one of the major points highlighted by Mr. Gregorin again, which I to a large extent failed to follow. Which is, of course, something that would probably be my most useful piece of advice to anyone watching this right now.
Why would you say so? Why would you say so?
Okay, well, I mean, again, if I were to put it simply, I'd just say, you're going to encounter both successes and failures along on en route to accomplishing something huge, whether it be in chess, whether it just be in life, or let's say scoring well in an exam. And then after having toiled immensely to get to that particular point that you desire all along, if you fail to reward yourself for all the sweat, for all the um, toiling that you went all this time, you're probably just gonna hate the process. And once you hate the process of getting where you want to be, you're just probably doing it really very wrong, and you're gonna end up hating the thing towards the end.
Got it, Prithu. Too deep, yeah. You are too deep. I want to like keep on talking to you because whatever looks obvious at first sight is not at all obvious because you have thought so deeply about it.
Sure.
Moving to this Beautiful picture. I like it so much. That's you with Vishy Anand in his workplace, in his home in Chennai, and you guys are discussing some position here. How was it meeting the legend?
Well, I mean, like any Indian chess player, of course, Vishy sir, Vishwanath Anand. He's been one of my biggest idols all along. And again, whenever I idolize a particular personality, I mean, it's just not because of the way they are the particular thing that earns them a lot of admiration and appreciation from people all around, but it's also because of the little things that probably go unnoticed that I would put a lot of emphasis on. Like if it was just for his composure, and let's just say the way he treats work and his warmness towards people around him, that just make him a very good person to probably draw a lot of inspiration from, and above all, positivity.
Yeah, and actually, this was your moment when you became a GM, and Anand himself invited
Yes.
you to his home in Chennai. And also,
Right.
this is another very nice picture of you with Vishy and Aruna, Anand's wife. And also, what I like very much is this very nice thing which Chessbase India had created, which is a chess board with all the 64 grandmasters of Indian chess, with Vishy on the top
Right.
left corner here and Prithu on the bottom right corner, because he was the 64th GM. And Prithu, one of the questions which was asked by Ashwin, who's our very good friend and who's on the stream, is did you plan becoming the 64th GM, or did it happen by accident?
Well, that's just a question that's been shot so many times at me, and I just love hearing it every single time, to be honest. So, of course, I mean, well, to be honest, these things just don't go as planned. I mean, it's just probably fate awarding me for for a bit of my effort, making me the 64 GM, getting me some extra appreciation, and so on. I mean, of course, well, it would have just been as special as me to become, like, let's say, the 61st or the 62nd GM, as it was to become the 64th. But I, of course, ended up impressing a lot of people along the way, even myself. And it's basically all nice. Yeah. And can't complain for that extra bit of attention I got due to completing the chessboard. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one very interesting question by Justin Gardner, who's from the US. He runs a chess academy in the US. He says, slightly offbeat question: should, when you have children, how would you train them differently than you were? GM Gupta, would you train your children
Wow.
differently? So maybe listening to you and understanding you're so deep,
Right.
he wants to ask you this
Oh,
question. You can choose
okay.
to whether you want to reply or not. I mean, of course, it's
No, that's totally chill. Yeah, sure. I mean, of course. Okay, I'm really not sure as to whether I'd like to get to that stage. Hypothetically, if I were there, I mean, I'd probably not even, like, let's say, drag them towards playing chess if they won't like to. I mean, you see, there's just no point forcing anything into anyone that he or she doesn't like. I mean, it's just totally pointless. And this is, of course, something that we all can learn from Vishy Anand again.
so well answered. Yeah, Prithu, very nicely said. And this is a very nice picture. Tell us a bit about your interactions with Kramnik. You attended 2 training sessions, one with just Kramnik in Shonsur Leman. Of course, I was also there along with Amruta, and then you also attended one more in Chennai where Boris Gelfand also joined him. How was the experience?
So now starting with the first training session in John Liman around this time only, in August 2019, last year. So to start with,
One second, one second.
Kramnik.
Why did you do like? Was it like a feeling of like a pleasant memory that you are trying to recollect, or what was it?
Exactly. I'm just trying to run all those moments through my brain just all over again because every time that happens, it just puts in a lot of peace and tranquility and just, makes me literally fantasize about all those lush green bushes and the clear roads, the villa we lived in with Kramnik walking in and throwing wisdom at us for 8 hours straight. It's just like so pleasant to remember, especially in times like these. It can really help you think of life from a better angle with respect to thinking as to this could really happen all over again and maybe in a much better state than you've already experienced. So the positivity just keeps me going.
And how was it to work with Kramnik?
So basically, Kramnik was my all-time favorite player. I mean, of course, this could be a bit unfair to the viewers who would probably be imagining me saying that for every player that comes along the way. But if I were to solely pick one, it would be Kramnik. I mean, whether it is for his fighting spirit after experiencing the health problems he already has, which we all know about, or whether it just be for the mental toughness and rigidness he had to show in those immensely tough moments. We probably all know what I'm referring to, and the list just keeps on growing as you get to know more about the person. And once I got to meet him in particular, it just helped me see what I mean, essentially, just helped me see the man behind the legend we all know as the 14th world champion, the one who introduced Berlin Wall and took Kasparov off the throne and so on. And again, as Gregorian sir would often tell me, it just takes a couple of words or a sentence from a particular person to change your whole outlook on life. And while, of course, I might say that for another piece of hearing or advice I might get in the future from someone, the one it has to be till now would be him telling us to only derive what we think or what we deem useful from his teachings and just probably throw the rest out because that's what we're going to hang on to the end at the end of the day. And the rest of the things we probably don't like, which of course with a person like him definitely has to be zero in number, would of course perish away on its own just by, I mean, after just adding up to some bit of useless load in our brains. And just meeting and interacting with the very soul, it was just magical for me to put it at the least. And now moving on to the second session we had with both girlfriend Boris and Kramnik in Chennai this earlier this year. So after already having talked about Kramnik, if I were to tell you about girlfriend sir, whom I had the privilege of training with for 3 days, I would just begin with saying I already had huge admiration and respect for him as a player, of course, and just above all as an author. And again, composure and tranquility in a person is something I just can't help but admire because of having longed for it all through this while and still being in the process of fully acquiring it. And all of that put together, along with the way he teaches, the very atmosphere he creates while teaching, and the pleasant interactions he had with us on those little walks in the gaps between the short sessions we'd have, would just make the experience so very memorable for a trainee like me.
Brilliant, brilliant. Tapan Krishna, thank you so much for your super chat. Uh, Sarang Gupta says nowadays the rapid and blitz culture is booming, which does not give space to the classical games, reducing the scope of creativity in chess. Sagar sir, your views and Prithu Gupta's views on this. I mean, I would leave it to Prithu to answer this today. Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I haven't been much of a Blitz player, Rapid and Blitz player at all. Because as it is pretty evident by my Blitz rating, it's probably like an 800 or 1000 points below my standard. Just because I've played like five to Blitz tournaments in totality and I'm unrated in Rapid because I haven't played a single a rated Rapid tournament at all. And I'm not even much into online Blitz to be to be very fair because I just don't find it as exciting and enjoyable as many of my peers or a lot of the top players even do. Well, the part where you say creativity goes wrong in Rapid and Blitz is where, at least in my opinion, that might not be fully correct because Blitz, above everything else, provides you a lot of room for creativity. I mean, you literally can try all sorts of absurd lines, structures, anything you desire to without having the fear of losing out on a lot of valuable points or I mean just without fearing to lose out on your norm if you fall half or one or even 2 3 points short. It just provides a lot of scope for trying something new. And as far as my take on Rapid goes, I probably don't have much to say at all because I haven't been much of a Rapid player at all, to be very honest, as it is shown by the fact that I'm unrated and haven't played a single Rapid tournament that is rated all my life.
Okay. Murali Funny asks, how are you so matured? Is it by reading books or by experience?
Okay, well, reading books definitely not the case because I haven't. Okay, now I'm gonna be totally honest. I haven't read a single book in my entire life. I
What?
haven't read a
Really?
single
What?
Dickens. I haven't read a single Shakespeare. I haven't read any book on how the human mind works. I haven't read a single piece of literature ever in my life, my friend.
Unbelievable, yeah?
Apart from the novels and the textbooks that were prescribed by my school and a couple of chess books, of course. I mean, as I said, I've basically never relied on books for any minute bit of my learning, except for the opening books that I read. Learning for me, it's just, coming across a lot of things just on a daily life basis and probably absorbing things that I like, just leaving out on things that I don't, just scrolling through huge articles on cosmology, on daily affairs, on political and social reforms, or let's say anything that interests me to the slightest. Whether it just be a speech from Gary Vee that I've been a huge fan of of lately, and you just tend to, I mean, the human brain's such a magnet, it just tends to derive whatever little it can from anything that we hear. And that, as useful as it gets, can even get a bit dangerous, which is where you have to draw the barrier and just throw out all the trash off your brain because it's way too valuable to hold in things that aren't required.
Amazing, Prithu. I got an idea in my mind that we can do a Q&A with Prithu where people
Sure.
ask you all their problems.
Right.
And that would be unbelievable. There is one question we have from Goblet Fire who says, Prithu, my brother has some traumatic memories of losses in chess tournaments from a while ago, and he doesn't want to talk about it. How do I get him to open up? He's just a little older than you.
Okay, so before again lecturing you on what you should do, my friend, I'd just like to share some of the traumatic experiences I have. And this is probably just gonna blow everyone's mind off. And this is not even me exaggerating because it possibly can't be. So on my road to GM again, this is probably as interesting as it gets. As I said, my stresses and anxiety, they've never been totally cured, and I always had a large part of that frustration inside myself, whether it just be because of leaving out on things that shouldn't have, or overworking myself, or not paying attention to these little things of being relaxed mentally. So this was post 5 rounds in Portage Open, as far as my memory goes. I was on fire. I mean, I was literally beating everyone. I was drawing games with the best of GMs. I was on 4.5 and 5, second on the leaderboard, only to Alexander Donchenko, who was leading with the perfect score of 5-5. So I decided to go downstairs and just for a bit of relaxation play the beach blitz tournament, which is something I normally wouldn't do. And just post 6 rounds on it, it just took a massive toll on me. Having gone through all the trauma beforehand, and then how just scoring 2 on 6, losing out to every 1600, just what I did after coming back to my room. I broke my laptop.
Really?
I broke my laptop.
How?
Right,
How?
right.
You like banged it?
I just, I was just so angry. I just started throwing it and I just took off the screen. And you know how I went, how I functioned for the rest of the tournament and the Portuguese league where I became a GM, which was also the tournament I played after that. We had to literally, first we had to make a good enough excuse of my laptop crashing and ask a couple of friends if they had a spare one. And the answer was obviously no, because of course, it's impractical to carry 2 laptops to a tournament. And then for the rest of the 14 rounds I had to play, including the very match winning which I became a GM, thankfully my laptop hadn't fully crashed. I mean, the screen, there was literally nothing visible. I had to connect it via USB port and replay all my openings on a TV that was probably even slightly higher than me. And I would be standing all day long just replaying my analysis and stuff all through that.
Unbelievable, yeah. I can't believe it. So yeah, coming
Right.
back to your advice to Goblet Fire, like he doesn't open up. How should he talk to him to open him up? He's losses.
Well, I think it's probably just normal not to open up. I mean, just take it from me. As I said, I mean, I've just been quiet and introverted all my life. And as good as that probably got for a while, it just backfired immensely later, which was shown in a lot of my actions, as I just mentioned. And I think it's just totally fine to be that way. I mean, you just have to relax him and, just talk to him, not even in order to get things out of him, because at the end of the day it's important to understand that trauma, it just doesn't come out of its own. I mean, it's a result of years of frustration and rage accumulating alongside you, whether it be because of all the sacrifices you've made, whether it be because of simply pushing yourself beyond limits, which absolutely shouldn't have done. But I mean, of course, it's okay to be young and dumb and experience everything yourself, because if someone else were gonna tell it to you, of course won't, for all right reasons. And it's just something that takes a while to cure. I mean, I'm still working on it myself, as are a number of other people in the world around. And yes, I mean, you see, lives is going to be a rough ride. You're going to see some beautiful moments which are going to be covered with darkness as well, especially in the case of teenagers, as a person whom I really respect once told me. And you just have to fight it through. I mean, it's going to be hard, really hard at times, and days are going to be really bright otherwise. And it's just important to keep on going through them and just doing what makes you happy, and just not being all that harsh on yourself, knowing when to let go and just chill. And yeah, a balance of seriousness and knowing when you need a bit of relaxation or recovery just really helps, in my opinion.
Absolutely, Prithu. Completely very well said by you. The final picture that we have on screen is you with Mr. Kailash Nathan and his family.
Sure.
On the right of right of the screen, we have Mr. Kailash Nathan, who is the managing director of Microsense Systems, and he was the person responsible for Kramnik camps, girlfriend camps,
Right.
Microsense has been really a big support. I think it's your sponsor right now. So finally,
Yes.
some support that came in for your chess career.
So, I mean, of course, I'd start by giving a huge thanks to Mr. Kailash Nathan, not just for sponsoring me, but for literally being the kind of man he is. At first, recognizing my talent, and then, inviting me over to his place when I was in Chennai to talk to him, and then, just in order to boost up my spirits, including me as one of the people who were felicitated by all of Vishy, Anand. And I think our relationship just went slightly beyond that as well. He I mean, if I were to be very honest, he'd even ring or my parents up on and off just to check on me, just to check on how I was doing, how I'm doing, and so on. So that just immensely increases the amount of respect you have for a particular person, which in my case for him is a lot. I mean, it's just beyond what I can explain. It's really my pleasure. Sure, just feel free to message me. You can even um, yeah, I mean, I'm even available a lot on Messenger. So if anyone wants to feels like talking or just wanting a piece of advice, just feel free to message me either on Messenger or Instagram. I'll always be there for you guys.
Prithu, I was muted. Yeah, I'm doing this thing where I'm trying
Sure.
to mute myself when you talk, and so
Right.
then I sometimes forget to unmute, and then I talk these huge sentences, and everyone is just watching. Sorry, guys, very sorry. So I was saying, Akshay Patil just sent a super chat saying, "GM or not, you are a gem, Prithu. Thanks for the interview." And
Thank you, everyone. Great pleasure for me to speak everything out that could probably help you guys progress or maybe just look after yourself and so on. And I just loved it, as I hope you guys would have too.
yeah, and so what I said in before we muted was that Prithu's Instagram link is in the description. So guys, if you can mods, if you can just spam it in the chat, then people can follow Prithu. And as he has graciously said that if you have any questions related to chess improvement, even life improvement, Prithu, some people have said that you should become a life coach. uh, so please ask him over there. He would be more than happy to reply. And I had prepared this entire stuff with Prithu that we were going to look at some chess here, and we had the chessboard and all. But I think it's Prithu, we have gone beyond the time that we had today. We should do another session where we discuss chess. But
Sure.
just the fact of talking with you was so much fun, so enlightening. It was a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed as well.
I really did. It was a pleasure.
Brilliant. And Prithu, finally, you see these points on the screen. I have made 15
Uh,
points. I know you hate to make pointers, but still, things
I mean, as I
required.
said, if it works for a particular person, there can be no greater gift. For a person like me, I would probably stick to a lot of it, but some part of me would just, instigate myself to do things my own way. But at the end of the day, you just got to find what works for you, right?
Absolutely. That is true. Uh, I am so basically, guys, follow Prithu on Instagram and Prithu. These 15 points, I just want to read them out. If I have written something grossly wrong, you can correct me. So things required to become a GM. First point: interest in chess. Second, pace yourself and balance work and leisure. Third point is have little motivators like trophies, coaches' words, and all these things motivate you. Fourth, parent support. Fifth one is financial support because that is very critical. It could be,
That's paramount.
sorry.
That's paramount, of course.
Yeah.
Of great importance.
Six is sacrifice a lot of things. Perhaps I could remove that out. What do you say?
Yeah, you got to sacrifice a lot, but just keep in mind you just got to keep in mind where all your barriers are breaking, and that's when you really got to go easy on yourself. Because your body, it's just a cause, and you in totality, you're just accustomed to, let's say, handling a particular amount of volume, like let's say tension, work ethic, or just a bit of leisure and so on. So while probably no one ever has been able to draw a perfect balance, you could function great with just having like with just keeping yourself somewhere close to between, and yeah, just figuring things in the best possible manner out for yourself.
Okay. And point number 7 is finding your own routine is important. Don't follow someone else's routine. Eighth is some books that Prithu has recommended. Arthur Yusupov series of 10 books of build up your chess, boost your chess evolution, and each book has 3 parts, and there's a revision book. Then there's opening books and opening DVDs, which are Prithu's favorites. I guess you also studied a lot of chess based DVDs, yeah, Prithu?
They're of course really essential for me.
They were very important. Okay, and also his favorite book is Gelfand's Positional Decision Making. He enjoyed it a lot. Ninth point is sticking to your strengths can often help, like how Prithu just focused a lot on the openings and it helped him improve.
More than sticking to your strengths is just sticking to what you like. Just sticking to what you like. Just being in your comfort zone and not paying a lot of heed or attention to people who are always trying to offer wise pieces of advice that they often won't even follow themselves.
Yeah.
Again, just following what works for you and what you feel most convenient in, while putting yourself in a bit of discomfort zone where you're actually going to end up breaking a huge amount of barriers and setting new goals for yourself.
Okay. 10th point is the only rule in life is that there are no rules. Are you okay with
Right.
this? Are you okay with this?
Yeah, although a bit of rules might also help. But as far as I go, there are absolutely no rules.
Okay. So if you are as sorted as Prithu, then this one works, but otherwise some rules may help. 11th point is don't be too harsh on yourself. 12th is don't look
Yep.
at other people's games when you are in your zone. Yeah, I think that is important. I think what you
Right,
mentioned.
that's an advice from my coach, Gregorian, but it's a very valuable advice that, of course, people are going to figure out themselves and hopefully at the end of the day deem really useful. Because at least I did find it the same way.
Yeah. So this is by GM Gregorian, Prithu's coach. 13th one is coaches are important, but they should understand what the students need.
Right.
And celebrating your success is important. I think another very important point for you. And as Prithu said, this might be the most important point he would give over here. And lastly, 1 or 2 statements can often change your life. Like Kramnik's advice, just take the stuff that is important for you, throw away the rest. Whew, brilliant. Prithu, absolute pleasure having you here. Any last words of advice to the viewers here?
Well, I just hope all of you really enjoyed me talking all this while, and I knew it could get a bit, like, let's say, boring or dark in between, but as Kramnik says, whom I immensely respect, just take what's useful for you, just throw the rest away, and do what you love. Keep on pursuing your passion, working hard, whereas giving yourself adequate recovery, relaxation at the same time, and just enjoy life. It's a tough ride. Just get through it in the best possible manner you can.
Yes, and I have put Prithu's link in the description in the chat right now. So guys, please go and follow him. Um, I think he deserves much more followers than he has right now, and of course staying in touch with him over there would mean that you can ask him any questions. And Prithu, I would like to offer you at some point, if you come back to ChessBase India, and we can do your game analysis, which was
Sure.
we left out, and also answer some questions from the people who have many questions to ask
That is
you.
very exciting. Of course, I'd love to do that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Prithu. And
Thanks.
guys, in the chat, please like the stream. Oh, his account is private. That's what everyone says. Prithu, you must make your Instagram account public.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
now
thought
that
about it.
everyone's
He's
talking,
thought about it. So, guys, it's not like a random decision. He's thought about it. So, Prithu, would you consider
yes,
making it public?
of course, and just don't hesitate to message me anytime you'd like to, even on my private account. And well, now that say you pointed it out, I'm gonna make a public, right?
Okay, brilliant. Prithu, please do it now so that people can follow you.
Oh, my phone's discharged. I'll just do it right after this interview. Got to keep that in mind.
Okay. All right. So see you guys. Please like the stream and keep subscribe to ChessBase India. And oh, we have a super chat by Amit Panchal who says Sagar and ChessBase India is doing good job of providing sponsorship to needy persons. Finance is one of the most important factors for rising chess players. Thank you so much, Amit, for your kind words. And Prithu, good luck for. Oh, I forgot to ask you, Prithu. But I know the answer now. Are you going to plan to move upwards in chess, or you're planning to do something else now in future? Or maybe this is a question for the next stream. Long question.
Sure. Well, if okay, if this is gonna be covered in the next stream, so that you just promised to me, I'm just gonna give a small spoiler right now, which is gonna be I'm not working all that much on the game right now, if at all. I'm just finding it a lot of fun to explore new arenas in the game itself, while not being as while not keeping great work ethic and proceeding with training as I usually would have under normal circumstances.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, and we will wait for the next session. Prithu, see you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.